Welcome to episode number 4 of the Live the Life podcast. I am your host, Eric Aroka. It has been a fun-filled morning. It has been an incredible day so far. So this morning, Sophie and I had the awesome opportunity of going to present a professional development training to the Goddard School here in Katy, Texas, and it was fantastic. We had about 28, 30-ish educators, all early childhood education, so we're talking preschool and kindergarten teachers, which was awesome. I have a special place in my heart for them. I've actually been substitute teaching as a para-educator for pre-kindergarten classes. And that has been quite the eye-opener, I gotta tell you. It has a little bit out of my comfort zone. I'm used to dealing with teenagers. I do really well with the older group, but you know, these little kids, these little pre-Ks are really winning me over. Let's just say it that way. So today, this morning as I was talking to them, I presented to them about how to build a winning culture that lasts in your school, in your organization. So that was a lot of fun. The key 3 principles that we really discussed on building a winning culture were number 1, leadership, number 2, communication, and number 3, having a value system or a belief system for the school. It was a lot of fun, very engaging. I think they all had a really good time. And my voice is a little hurting right now, I gotta tell you. Speaking for 3 hours, I think it was about 3 hours, right? Yeah, 3 hours this morning kind of took a toll. So if you don't mind, I'm gonna be taking a sip every now and again of my lime in the coconut drink with Coke Zero that I bought at Fizz today. Not sponsored or affiliated with Fizz, just a lover of their sodas. All right, so the Goddard School was really fun. Really had a great time with them and just talking and being able to share my experiences as an educator with them and how they can go about. And they don't really need a lot of help in building a culture. It was really interesting that today, for the first time ever in 10 years of me speaking, my topic just hit like the perfect intersection of what we were actually talking about. It was just like the perfect thing today. And that being, they just came under brand new ownership, like, kid you not, 2 weeks ago. They have brand new ownership. So this was really like their first time really coming together as a school, no kids around. And it was just the educators there for a professional development opportunity. And it was great. So anyway, that's what I was doing all morning. That was a lot of fun. Sophie, did you like it? Sophie's nodding that she really enjoyed it. So that was great. She did a great job manning the camera and just kind of being the person behind the scenes and helping me out with that. So that was a lot of fun. All right, so today for episode number 4, we are talking about igniting your perseverance. So the first time, episode number 2 is about igniting your passion. If you remember back a few episodes, then we followed that up with igniting your purpose. So then we talked about the importance of how to go about igniting your passion, how to go about igniting your purpose, using those together. But now we really have to start talking about the perseverance side of it, because it's all wonderful, it's all great and good to talk about what you're passionate about and to get started and to do all those things that you just love to do. But you know what? When shit hits the fan, you're going to have to rely on perseverance. If you don't, then it's going to be those situations where you just say, well, it wasn't meant to be. well, I was really passionate about that, but it wasn't meant to be. Oh, that just didn't work out for me. No, the reason why it didn't work out for you is because you quit. You did not persevere. There's an old adage that is deeply, deeply rooted in perseverance. And the old adage goes something like this: when the going gets tough, the tough get going. Deeply rooted in perseverance. So I want you to be thinking about perseverance, and I want you to think about, do you have perseverance? Think of opportunities, or think of times in your life where you've shown perseverance, where you've actually acted on it. I will tell you a quick story. At least I'll try to make it quick. You guys know I'm a little bit long-winded when it comes to stories. Back in the early 2000s, I had a dream job goal in mind, and that was to become a pharmaceutical sales rep, or as my mom called them, drug dealers. So I wanted to become a pharmaceutical drug rep. That was my goal. I was just finishing up earning my master's degree, I believe, and my bachelor's degree. I had just gotten to the point where I was going to get my bachelor's degree, and I had set that goal for myself. I had a neighbor who lived across the street from me, who worked at Pfizer Pharmaceuticals, and he was great. He was one of those guys that was just always happy and really seemed to enjoy his job, and really just seemed to kind of thrive in just living life, and just things were going pretty well. And he moved away. He got promoted, moved up to, I think, district manager or regional manager, and he moved to Texas and continued his career out there. And or I guess I should say it now out here, right? Because I live in Texas now too. So I had kind of set my sights on becoming a pharmaceutical sales rep, and I did my homework. I really researched not all the companies that are out there, because there's way too many, but some of the big ones, J&J, GSK. Just did my research as to which company I really wanted to work at, and it came down to that I really wanted to work at Pfizer Pharmaceuticals. I really loved their culture. I loved their value system, and it just seemed to be a good fit for me personally. So I set my sights on going to work at Pfizer. To make a long story short, I got the job, okay? After trying for quite a bit. And I got the job. My territory was Salt Lake City West. For those of you who are familiar with Salt Lake, I had a little bit of Ogden, all of West Salt Lake, like South Jordan, West Jordan. Anyway, just the west side of Salt Lake City. And it was going pretty well. I got to tell you that the training for Pfizer Pharmaceuticals back then, and I don't know if it's changed at all, but it was 18 months of training. At the end of the 18 months, you were evaluated. You had a 3-day thing that you had to show up to the district offices or regional offices for. And basically, they just evaluated everything that you did. They evaluated your territory plan. They evaluated where you sat at dinner, right? Because you had like a business dinner. They evaluated where you sat. How often, how much did you talk? Did you not talk at all? Did you sit the furthest or the closest to, whoever was heading up the dinner? They just evaluated every little thing. Your presentation skills. They evaluated everything under the sun. You even had to take a test, a written test, and you had to score 80 or more in order to advance. Now, I'm going to backtrack a little bit. When I started working for Pfizer, you learn early on while you're in the interview process that at some point, if you get the job, that UPS is going to back up to your driveway and just dump a bunch of textbooks. Not books, textbooks, okay? That you're going to have to learn. You're going to have to learn disease states. You're going to have to learn information on your products. You're going to have to learn your competition's products. You're going to have to learn anatomy. All those things. So I was never a great student. It was always really a struggle for me school was just a huge struggle. I never did very well in school, partly because I had severe dyslexia and I just didn't know, and I don't think I knew or had good study habits, and so I remember getting the textbooks and then just getting to work. I remember I had to read like 5 books, get all this information, and then at the end of the week, I had to take a test. I had to get 80% or to pass and to kind of keep moving on through the different segments of your training. And this is like the home based, they call it home based training, I believe, if I remember correctly. So I'm doing all this training. At the end of the week, I'm taking the test. I don't think I passed one. That I recall, I did not pass one. I don't think I even came close. I just remember how hard it was to try to read this material that was pretty foreign to me. Disease states, anatomy, all this stuff, and I did not perform well. Somehow, I moved on to the main training. Main training was in White Plains, New York, in their huge training facility that they have out there, and I was there for a week, and it was great. I learned a lot, but again, I really struggled with the actual test taking portion of that at the end of every week. Really, really struggled. I passed sometimes I didn't pass. Let me just put it to you this way. I was really struggling going through their training regimen, their training program. Really, really struggling. To the point where my district manager was called at some point and asked basically if I was worth the trouble, if he wanted to even keep me on, or if they should just kind of send me packing type of a deal. Thank goodness for him, because he kept me around and, it worked out pretty well. But I really struggled. It's that perseverance piece. What is perseverance? Right? Like, what is it? How do you define it? I look at it as it's persistence in doing something despite its difficulty. So, persistence in doing something despite its difficulty. This happened to be an extremely difficult thing for me to do. I really, really struggled with it. So happy I did not quit. That I didn't just throw in the towel and say, to hell with this. This is too damn hard. I can't do it. Instead, I stuck with it. I reached out to my colleagues. A good friend of mine, David Ricker. If you're listening to this, Dave, thanks, bro. But he helped me out and kind of helped me get through those difficult moments. And I'm so thankful to him. Just so thankful that I didn't give up on myself and just decide to go do something else instead. At the end of the 18 months, or at the very last section of the 18 months of training, some of it was at the training center, some of it was in your area. The pieces were dedicated to your territory, so to my area. I did really well in, because that was just the sales part of going, building relationships, getting doctors to buy your product, to prescribe your product. I did really well in that area. But at the end of the 18 months, you go into the offices for 3 days, and like I said, you're just evaluated on everything. I barely passed my written test. I got 80%. Now, if you fail the written test, you basically fail, and you don't really get to progress or continue on in the 3 days. At least that's what we were told. I got an 80%. I was sweating bullets, you guys. Just sweating bullets. It was almost like an emotional release when the computer spit my score out and I saw 80%. Oh, I was just elated. I knew that if I could get past, if I could show enough perseverance through the written test and pass it, that I would do really well in everything else that I was being evaluated at the presentation or at the training, especially when it came to like the presentation side of it and the actual salesy side of things that I had to go through. And sure enough, I did really, really well in those areas. I ended up getting an award after the 3 days as the top performer for phase 6. So phase 6 was the very last phase of the 18 month of training. I got the big plaque that says top performer. Awesome. But this goes to show you that from where I started to where I finished as the top performer, what a difference. Like the journey that I went on from the moment that UPS truck backed up to my driveway and I had the realization that, holy crap, I'm going to have to do stuff that's really not in my wheelhouse, that I'm really not good at. But I'm going to have to do it. I'm going to have to figure out how to get it done. That was extremely difficult. There was many times where I had to sacrifice time from family and just being involved with my in the lives of my kids because they were all very young. All 5 of them were very young at this point. And I had to sacrifice time away from them, away from my spouse, and in helping her, and just daily living, just daily life, because I had to put so much time and effort into reading the textbooks, into learning the material, into making sure I could pass the test. And I mean, those were far few in between, to be honest with you. And but I just felt like I had the right people along to help me in my progression. My district managers definitely played a huge role in helping me get to the 18-month mark. Because when I got there, I performed better than everybody else. They all got better test scores than I did. I mean, Dave Rickard was in the 90s, and everybody else that was in my class was scored way higher than an 80, but I outscored them in every other facet of that 3-day evaluation. That's how I ended up getting best performer for phase 6. So again, persistence is doing something despite its difficulty, its level of difficulty. So do you have perseverance? Do you persevere? Can you think of times in your life when you've actually used perseverance? I can tell you, I am so happy. I am so glad that I did not throw in the towel. So glad that I did not quit, because not only does it teach me that I can do difficult things, that I can do hard things, but I think it also sets the tone for my family. It showed my wife that I was dedicated, that it wasn't just passion itself. Because if I was only using my passion and my love for trying to do something in sales and for Pfizer and for that company, it wouldn't have lasted. I wouldn't have lasted 18 months. Had I not had a purpose, had I not had that purpose to drive me through my passion for sales and wanting to become a pharmaceutical sales rep, and coupling that with the perseverance, I wouldn't have made it. It just would not have been possible. But because I didn't just rely on passion and purpose, but I relied on all 3 principles, passion, purpose, and perseverance, that I was able to see it through to the end. So at the end, I got the reward. And it's not even about the reward, right? It's not about the physical reward, the plaque that I got. It's about just knowing for yourself, being proud of yourself for achieving something that was difficult for you. We don't always have to be rewarded or recognized in some way. It's just that personal recognition. It's just that personal reward that says, oh, I did something that was really hard. I stuck to it. I saw it through to the end, and I did it. I think that is perseverance in a nutshell. And so I think it's awesome. So what are some of the challenges then that we encounter when we talk about perseverance? I think I mentioned some of them, right? It's that self-doubt. It's fear of failure, lack of, and this, I want to say motivation, but I'm going to say it's a lack of inspiration, not motivation. It's the lack of, because inspiration comes from deep inside. It's a gut feeling. I think it's a lack of being inspired. It's that fear of failure. What does that look like? I did not want to come home and let my wife know that, oh, hey, I failed at training. That I did not want that. I mean, that was a real possibility. Just because of my track record over the last 18 months, there was a real possibility I was going to have to make that difficult phone call to say, hey, hon, I didn't make it. I'm going to have to go look for another job. I mean, it had taken me over a year to get my foot in the door, even knowing people, to get my foot in the door at Pfizer Pharmaceuticals. So it wasn't like just, anybody can get a job there. It took me some time in order for me to achieve that. So it's that fear of failure. I did not want to have my kids see me fail. Now, and that was probably the biggest motivator. But I was really more inspired than I was motivated by any fear that I had. I had this deep desire to want to reach that level, that pinnacle of sales. To me, being a pharmaceutical sales rep or medical device rep really was the pinnacle of my sales career. Out of everything I've ever sold, every organization that I've been involved in, that was always the pinnacle. That was always the top goal. Regardless, if I started in a sales down here, selling whatever, the dream was always to be up here, to become a pharmaceutical sales rep. Everything along the way was a stepping stone to help me get to that level. And so I reached it. But it's also that self-doubt. It's just telling yourself, that inner voice telling you that you can't do it, telling you that who do you think you are, that you're going to become this, that you can achieve your goal. And it's really just being able to overcome that and not believing in that voice, but believing the other voices that say, you can do this. If you can see it, you can achieve it. I often say that if you're willing to sacrifice for it, remember when we talked about passion, if you're willing to sacrifice, you can achieve. And that's really what it came down to. I was willing to sacrifice time away from fishing, which for those of you who know me, know that's a big sacrifice. I was willing to sacrifice time away from my kids, from my wife, from seeing them perform, from seeing them at games, what have you, because I had to study, because I had to work, because I was just locked in to making sure that I didn't fail. And so I think that, those type of challenges are real, but again, it's just having that mentality and that real focus of allowing your passion and purpose to drive you through that perseverance, right? Purpose drives you through perseverance. It gets you through it. It's just a catalyst. It helps propel you forward. There are many times where you want to quit. There were many times that I wanted to quit, that I wanted to just throw in the towel. But it was that purpose that got me through it, that allowed me to persevere to the end so that I could make it, so that I could make the phone call, which I did, by the way. All three of us, we had a limo ride to the airport, and the three of us that shared a limo on that particular afternoon, we all got to call home. We all talked to our spouses to give them the good news that we had made it, that we were coming home to a job, and that we could now call ourselves pharmaceutical sales reps for Pfizer Pharmaceuticals. What a huge accomplishment it was for me in my life. And it was a great experience. It has been an experience that I have never lived down. But it was full of difficulties. It was full of unknowns. It was a lot of fear, a lot of self-doubt. But like I said, in the end, it's that purpose that gets you through to the end, so that you can ride that wave of perseverance and just get to the end. That's all you've got to do, is get to the end. You don't have to win the race. You just have to make it to the finish line. And I not only made it to the finish line, but I also won. So you got to have that mindset shift in order to see that happen. We talk about growth mindset a lot, and I don't think that you can have a growth mindset when things are going well. I think a growth mindset only happens when you're in times of difficulty, when you have to exercise that perseverance. That's where I believe that the growth mindset happens. It's seeing challenges. Instead of seeing challenges, you see opportunities, and that's really one of the things that I did that I feel made a huge difference, is that I didn't see my challenges as obstacles. I just saw them as opportunities. So they were opportunities to improve, opportunities to get better, right? Or I guess that's to improve, opportunities to learn something new. And so everything was just an opportunity. And to me, failure only happened. The only way I would have failed in this experience is if I would have just thrown in the towel and said, I quit, and then not done anything else. That would have been failure. But because I was willing to just see it through, even through the really hard moments, it was never failure. It was just always another opportunity to learn something new, to learn a different way, a new way of how something could possibly work. Because I failed in the other way, it didn't work, but here's a new way to do it. Here's something else I need to try. Here's a better study habit. Let me incorporate that to see if I could improve. And sure enough, I think with that mindset, it started to build momentum in that 18 months. I started to focus on the small wins. Some of the small wins were just maybe just understanding a concept, maybe just understanding how the body works, right? The anatomy piece. But being able to recognize those small wins and celebrate each one of those small wins. Sometimes a small win was just passing a test, or at least getting close, right? Because that happened a lot. Just getting close to passing a test was a small win. Those are the things that I believe kind of propel you forward, move you in the right direction, and just kind of keep you moving along so that you can get to the finish line. All right. And I would say also that I think we need to have a mind shift from looking at challenges as a negative thing or looking at change as a negative thing. I think what we need to do is embrace it. I think the Army has a really good saying, and they talk about embracing the suck. Okay, so you'll hear Army guys all the time say embrace the suck. Because, training camp, that's gotta suck. I'm sorry. It's gotta suck to have somebody in your face all the time yelling at you. The physical exertion that they go through, the physical demands that they have to, perform at a high level. That's gotta suck. And so how do you embrace it? You got to have that shift to embrace the challenges and not look at them as these obstacles, as these things that are prohibiting you from moving forward. Instead, just embrace it. And I think that if you have that mind shift where you embrace that, I think it sets you up to win. I think it sets you up to be more successful, to overcome, to be solution-oriented instead of being problem-oriented. Look, I think that we need to think about our problems to some degree, but I don't think we should spend very much time thinking about our problems. I don't think that you need to spend much time thinking about your challenges in your life. I think where you really need to place a great deal of time and effort in is coming up with solutions to your challenges. What are the solutions to your problems? I think that's where it's at. One of my problems was I was having a hard time retaining information. So I had Dave Rickard help me. He would help me, with exercises and things so that I could retain information. He would ask me questions about disease states or anatomy or just something about our products or what have you, just so that I could recall it, so that I could, you know, just remember it. And so you gotta have that mind shift to just embrace the difficulty in it. And I think when you embrace it and you become more solution minded rather than problem minded, then it sets you up for success. It sets you up to celebrate or to have those small wins. Your goals become a little bit more clear. Um, your goals actually become more achievable. You start to see that snowball effect. You start to see that, hey, I had a win here. Now let me see if we can roll and make it a little bit bigger so we can get to this goal. Now that we've reached this goal, can we get to this goal? Can we get to this goal? Can we get to this goal? And so I think that's what it really does for us. Is it just puts us in the right frame of mind and really helps us to get in a position where we can be successful. Being able to put those action plans into work. I think goals are essential. Whatever kind of goals you want to set, right? Whether you're SMART goals or some other framework, you do you. But I think the importance is setting up those short-term and long-term goals so that you can see that improvement, and it just helps you build momentum. That's one of the biggest things that it did for me. So I tell you this story because in my life, I've seen it over and over and over again, where I've had to embrace the suck. I've had to embrace challenges, regardless of what it is, and just go with it. Even as a speaker, as a trainer, as an author, you got to just embrace those opportunities. You got to embrace those challenges so that you can be solution minded, solution oriented, and you can come up with those solutions, that you can implement those solutions, that you will have the perseverance to see those solutions through to the end so that you can reap the reward at the end. Right? We got to stop quitting because things are hard. That can no longer happen. You got to persevere. You love doing something? Okay, go do it. Have a purpose. Make sure that purpose is super clear in your mind, and then go out and achieve it. Don't quit. Just don't quit. Don't do it. Don't allow yourself to do it. It should not be an option. Quitting should not be an option. Just see it through to the end. Make it happen. Going to college was the same thing. I mean, you could basically just switch out the names from college to Pfizer, and it's the exact same experience. Exact same experience. Really, really struggled in school when I went to college. Why? Because I didn't have good study habits. I didn't have a good relationship with education. Because I would go back and think about high school and think, well, what a joke high school was for me. I mean, I could pull up a report card for you guys, and there's just a lot of D's and F's in my report cards. Okay? And it wasn't because I was stupid. It was basically because a large part of it was because I couldn't read. I graduated high school reading at a third grade level. Guys, that's not impressive. That's not going to win you a lot of points in school. It's not going to help you. When you go take a test, if you can't read the questions, how are you going to answer the questions? Okay? Do you see where I'm going? But you have to embrace it. You have to embrace the difficulty. You got to find a way to overcome. And it's then that perseverance. You got to have that perseverance. You got to have that mentality that you are not going to quit. You are not going to let yourself down. Don't worry about other people. Don't worry about, I got to the point where I had to stop worrying about whether or not I was letting my kids down or whether I was going to let my wife down. It really got to the point where I really started thinking more about, am I letting myself down? I didn't need my wife to be proud of me. I needed to be proud of me. I needed to be proud of the things that I was achieving in my journey to become a pharmaceutical sales rep or in my journey of earning my degrees. I had to be proud of me. I didn't have anything to prove really to anybody else. Because if everybody else dies off, if everybody else in your life goes away, and all of your, let's just say that all of your naysayers, right? Everybody that is kind of against you, If they all go away, then who are you going to prove wrong, or who are you going to prove right? There's no one there. So what happens to that motivation, that inspiration? Nothing. It's for naught. So the only person that you can prove right is yourself. Believe in yourself. Believe that you can do it. Believe that you are capable of doing hard things. Believe that you can get through difficult situations in your life. Believe it, because I believe that you can. I've done it. And because I've done it, I've been able to see the fruits of that journey. You know, the fruits of the journey for school was I earned a bachelor's degree, and 2 years after that, I earned a master's degree. Why? Because I didn't give up. Why? Because I saw every opportunity, I saw every challenge as just another opportunity to learn, another opportunity to grow, another opportunity to continue to develop. That's how I saw them. I didn't see them as these huge obstacles, and they didn't exist, because it was all about me. I was so focused on providing solutions to my challenges, to my obstacles, that I was just dialed in. And that's what we need to do, is just get dialed into what we're trying to achieve. And if you can do that, then you can have that passion, purpose, and perseverance that's going to carry you through all that stuff. But you got to persevere. When the going gets tough, the tough get going. You got to put that into practice. You got to get tougher. You can't quit. Don't allow yourself to quit. Don't allow your kids to quit. My daughter, Sophie, behind the camera, I'm going to use her as an example. She wanted to quit dance. I can't tell you how many times. It got so bad that she would have complete freaking meltdowns in the car. I mean, epic meltdowns, because she didn't want to go to dance, because she wanted to quit. And my answer was always the same. You said you would dance this year, therefore you're dancing this year. Now, at the end of the year, we can reevaluate. But guess what happened during each one of those reevaluations at the end of the year? She opted to go in again. Now, I'm going to be honest, for like 3 or 4 years, this was the scenario every year. She would say, I'm going to dance next year, and then we'd get to that year, and it was just hell on wheels to try to get her there. Okay, her mom and I would be like beside ourselves, just going, this shit ain't worth it. Let's just have her quit. But we didn't let her quit. We persevered. Even as parents, we had to persevere. We had to push her. We had to get her there. If we just gave up and said, well, you're not going to dance, don't worry about it, I'm not going to dance today, tomorrow, the next day, now it turns into a month, you never have to go to dance, that's quitting. You're done. You're done at that point. But we didn't allow her to do that. We kept going. Now, the interesting thing happened is when we moved to Texas 3 years ago, we had talked about that was going to be her last dance. So when we were in Utah, that was going to be her last year of dance, because we were moving to a new state, and we didn't know, what was going to happen, or how to find a good ballet school and all that kind of stuff, because she's a ballet dancer. And that was going to be the end. But guess what happened in that journey? Guess what happened? She went from just being motivated, or just from having a passion to want to be the ballerina. She went from that to having inspiration, to being inspired to want to be a ballerina. And because we didn't have to motivate her, we didn't have to tell her, hey, we'll give you this if you go to dance. She did it on her own. She came to us and said, let's find a dance studio here. And because that happened, the stars aligned, right? The universe. And we found a professional teacher. We found a lady who was a ballet instructor here in our area, who had been a professional dancer, who had toured the world as a ballerina. And that became her teacher, her mentor. How incredible is that? Now she has performed in 3 Nutcrackers. She's getting ready to do her final performance. She's turned 18. She's ready to do her final performance in May. And I can't remember what it is. Not Swan Lake. What is it? Alice in Wonderland. I knew it wasn't Swan Lake. That was before. I know you did Swan Lake before, right? Okay. Alice in Wonderland. But guys, none of this is possible if she would have quit dance way back when she was younger. I wouldn't be telling you this story. But she persevered. She loves dance. Now, are there days that she doesn't want to go to dance? Hell yes. There are still days where she'll beg us not to go to dance. And you know what? Sometimes we give in and say, all right, you don't have to go to dance today. Sometimes we just say, hey, you can't go to dance today because we got this and this as a family, and this is a non-movable scheduled event, and you can't go to dance today, right? But for the most part, I would say 97% of the time, she's going to dance. And she's looking forward to going to dance. Has it been easy? No. If you know anything about ballet dancers, you know that it is not easy. It's glamorous. The performances are glamorous. When she is on her point shoes, oh my gosh, what a proud moment as a father to watch your daughter on point shoes and just seeing how glamorous she looks and how elegant every move is. It's just a thing of beauty. It takes my breath away. But what the reality of it is, it's hard as freaking hell. You got busted up toes. You got blisters. You know, I mean, ballet dancers probably have the ugliest feet in the world, okay, for a reason. But, hey, she has seen the benefits of perseverance. She has lived it. I want you to live it. I want you to live this principle of igniting your life. So as we wrap this up today, as we've talked about over the last 3 weeks, the principles of how to ignite your spark. Maybe you don't need a full ignition, right? You just need to reignite it. You've already got a little tiny bit of a flame there, but let's reignite that spark. Let's get that spark to grow, to just burn in your chest. And you do that by having passion for what you're doing, having a true love for what you're doing. You're willing to sacrifice time from your friends, time from your kids. You're willing to sacrifice whatever you have to sacrifice in order for you to achieve what you want to achieve. You have purpose. Your purpose is clear. You know exactly why you're doing it. You share your purpose with other people so that they can champion you, so that they can join your cause and help propel you forward. Your purpose will get your butt out of bed when you just don't want to go do it. Unless your mom and dad force you to get in the car and do it. But it's going to be your purpose that helps you get to that point. And then, lastly, like we've been talking about, it's that perseverance. Use it. Implement it into your life. Have that growth mindset. Have that flip of the switch in your mind where you are solution ended instead of being problem ended, right? Think of those solutions. Have that switch go on. Make it go on. Switch it. Have that frame of mind that says you can do hard things. That you can embrace difficulty in your life. Listen, if life was easy, if life was carefree, if life was free of challenges and obstacles in our lives, life would be boring as hell. That's the truth. It's the challenges, it's the obstacles that make life exciting, that make life worth living, that make it so that we can have fun, so that we can learn, so that we can be on that journey. That's how it happens. It's not because it's easy. It's because of the difficulty therein. So embrace the suck, like they say in the army. And I think that if you do that, you'll see that you will be able to reignite that spark. You will be able to reignite that passion for living a better life. Guys, this is where it all starts. You know, as we talk about in this podcast, this is where it all starts. It starts by living those 3 principles. If you can't live these first 3 principles, I don't know what to tell you. You can't live everything else that we're going to be talking about here in the coming weeks. Because next we're going to be talking about how to live the life you've always imagined. We're going to be talking about the principles that I wrote about in my first book, Live the Life You've Always Imagined. Well, a big part of that is having passion. A big part of that is having purpose. A big part of that is having perseverance. Because you're going to need to use those 3 principles in every aspect of your life moving forward, in just about every single topic that we talk about here in this podcast. So this is where it starts. I hope that this is helpful for you. I hope that you will be able to see the value in living with passion, purpose, and perseverance, and that you will take every opportunity to do so. Hey, we'd love to see your engagement on social media. Give us a like, give us a follow. You can follow us on Instagram at Live the Life Pod on my Instagram. If you go to profiles, you'll see links to the audio version, and you'll also have links to the YouTube page to see the video version of the episode. So give us a follow. Like in every episode, I will include links for the other 2 videos about passion and purpose, and then also leave you links for the 2 books that we're working on or that we've already released. And then we'll be giving you guys some really awesome information soon. So we'll be having some guests coming on soon. Not sure if we'll get to it next week, but I'm hoping in the weeks to come, in the next couple of weeks, we will have our first guest. We're just trying to lock up some schedules so that we can do some recordings and get that out to you guys. But really excited about the next guest our first guest coming on. So stay tuned. More information on that to come here in the coming days. And we're just super excited about it. So give us a like, give us a follow, share the podcast, tell your friends, give us a listen, give us a shot. And if you have any questions, any thoughts that as you've been listening to this, please, put them in the comments. I will personally go into comments and answer any of your questions. And I'd love to see what your experience has been when it comes to perseverance, and would love to hear what you've persevered in your life. So remember, as moving forward, live the life.